आपको करना है, स्टूडेंट नहीं करेगा वो, आपको करना है। ये सबसे बड़ा
Anushka and I Rashi welcome you all on behalf of the entire CIMP family to the inaugural function of the International Conference on Corporate Social Responsibility, Inclusive Development and Welfare, being hosted by Chandragupta Institute of Management, Patna, in association with Xavier Institute of Social Research, Patna. Before we start, I, on behalf of the entire CIMP family, take this opportunity to heartily welcome Dr. Bhaskar Chatterjee, former Director General and Chief Executive Officer, Indian Institute of Corporate Affairs, as the chief guest for today's inaugural function. I would also like to accord a very warm welcome to Professor V. Mukunda Das, Director CIMP, and Mr. Anand Madhav, Advisor Center for CSR Studies, CIMP, at this function. I would now request Rashi to greet our Honorable Chief Guest and the dignitaries on the dais by presenting a red rose. May I now request Honorable Chief Guest and other dignitaries on the dais to light the ceremonial lamp. May I now invite our Founder Director, Professor Dr. V. Mukunda Das, to the lectern for the welcome address.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, sir. Though I am not well, I think I best welcome you all to this function. It's a new initiative by CIMP to do research, training, etc. And share these research, training and discussions with the rest of the people in the corporate sector. Corporate social responsibility has lots of significance in a country like India, where inequality is very high. And on the one side you have millions of poor people, on the other side you have dozens of very rich people. So the corporate social responsibility see that wherever the inequality is more, they will have to take care of the problem, larger social problems of the society. So I think this initiative by CIMP will go a long way. Though we have initiated many things which has become a role model for others also. Corporate social research into corporate social responsibilities will bring in a lot of interesting facets of these facets between the corporate social responsibility and the rest of India, or the rest of the poor people in India. So I extend a warm welcome to all of you. The commitment of the corporate and the state to work towards inclusive development of the people and society at large is of utmost importance in today's environment. I have stated that earlier. CSR emphasizes the responsibility of organizations towards its shareholders and the environment rather than profit making only. The corporate social CSR practices across the globe are witnessing changes, and in India, Also, several innovative measures are developed in areas of public health, education, community development, environment, and microfinance, bearing in mind the local cultural context and the needs of the people. Apart from devoting funds, expertise in terms of knowledge and human resources, it's also allocated for successful implementation of these programs. These activities are being undertaken in collaboration and cooperation with the NGO groups, community-based organizations, and voluntary organizations. I extend a warm welcome to all of you on this first International Conference on Corporate Social Responsibility, Inclusive Development and Welfare, organized by CIMP and Xavier Institute of Social Science, Patna. I welcome all the distinguished guests who are going to make speeches, and the people on the dais, especially the Dr. Jose and Pastor Anand Mahadev, all of them. I think maybe after this seminar is over, there may be you may be asked to write some what you have learned from this. This is the normal practice we follow in all serious conferences. So I think this may also happen. And I'm sure I'm very sorry and sad to say that people who have not come or coming late will have to pay 10,000 rupees fine. This again, that money I will give to the poor people who are coming in beautiful mind. They have identified the best people in the special area to address the conference and discuss things which are of very much importance in the days to come. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now I invite Academic Coordinator Dr. Jose Kalapura, Director ICCSR, to deliver his address. Dr. Jose Kalapura, SJ, is the Academic Coordinator of this conference and is the Founder Director of Xavier Institute of Social Research, Patna. Dr. Kalapura did his Masters in History from Pune University, Master in Philosophy and PhD in Social History from New Delhi's Jawaharlal Nehru University. Sir has presented papers in national and international seminars in India and abroad on diverse themes in social sciences. Sir is a member of the Board of Consultants of 3 academic journals. He is the executive editor of the journal Indian Church History Review since 2009. He is a life member of the Indian History Congress. Over to you, sir.
Respected Chairperson, Professor Anandji, and also the keynote speaker who was supposed to be here could not be present here because of the difference in time. It may be very early morning now, but we address him as he is present here today, and also the other dignitaries and the chairpersons of various sessions, paper presenters and participants, and all those who are linked to this conference through online. I'm happy to associate with the Chandrugupta Institute of Management, Patna, for this international conference because of very relevant reasons. Because of the theme, corporate social responsibility. It has been talked about much, but yet to be practiced as it should be. There's so much has been written about corporate social responsibility, and many of the keynote speaker as well as many of the paper presenters have going to present various aspects of corporate social responsibility. What I thought is that this is a forum outside the classroom, out of the box of thinking, out of the box thinking, in which paper presenters and participants interact with the new ideas, with one another, with new ideas on this. including the corporates as well as the public at large. Being social by nature, every human being is necessarily dependent on society for one's basic as well as other needs. Normally, very few people are conscious of this high level of dependence, as many things are taken for granted. In the same manner, a family is dependent on other families, a group of people are dependent on other groups, and a business firm is dependent on other firms as well as on the customers, the state, the law enforcement authorities, etc. In other words, a business firm or a corporate body is dependent on many individuals, groups, the civil societies, international developments, international rules, etc. for its survival and growth. This is what we want to focus on this on, to focus that corporates have a responsibility towards the wider society, not only for its clientele, not only for its customers, and its employers and employees and so on, but a wider society. Now, this concept comes from our very ancient heritage. In India, we have a high heritage of which is depicted in the small crypt words, Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina. Let all be happy. How this can be practiced is being brought out in the concept behind corporate social responsibility. Let all be happy is a very lofty ideal. Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina. This can happen at various levels because man is related to other human beings, man is related to whole nature, and man is related to God. At three levels we are related to one another. So happiness of man depends on this, making this relation smooth in all these three dimensions. And it was Amartya Sen who said that human development of all people is the touchstone, kasauti of development. So human development of all people. So we cannot leave a section of the people behind for any country to develop. You may have the human development index of economic production and so on, GDP and so on. But unless every human being, every person, every citizen is covered, is brought to a level of development, it cannot be said as real human development. So that is he has written about it quite a lot. And in our ancient heritage, it is another verse which is very striking, which is worth pondering. It is said, Vasudhaiva Kudumbakam. The full text of that, if you go back to the script text, is this. Ayam Nejaha Paro Neti Ganana Laghu Chetanam. I repeat, Ayam Nejaha Paro Neti Ganana Laghu Chetanam. That one who can think wider, can think about the others, is the best person. Then it comes the words which we always know, which we repeat. Udar Charitanam tu Vasudhaiva Kudumbakam. A person who can think about beyond oneself, beyond to the other, is the one who is very generous. Then only there can be Vasudhaiva Kudumbakam. So this is behind the concept behind the social responsibility, I would say. That we go beyond our production, beyond our clientele, beyond our families to greater, wider humanity. In this aspect, several papers have come. I have gone through the abstracts. I found that this covering the whole others, covering the others means not only the people who are well-to-do, but the people who are needy, the one who deserve our happiness, sharing our happiness. So this should be brought out, and this, I hope this conference and its proceedings will help others, help all of us to think beyond this that we go out to the others to bring up the happiness of all people. So that's why we put it in inclusive development and inclusive welfare. I wish all the paper principals all the very best, and also those who are present here, participants present here. I'd like to say a word about how we arranged the papers. Going through the papers, there are a wide variety of the themes have been brought in, and so we thought the theoretical aspects, the conceptual aspects can be are cohesive, and so they can be clubbed together. So we have put paper 1, 2, 3 in that aspect, and the other sessions where the applications of CSR have been brought out very cogently in some other papers. So we have tried to club that together. It's all, it may be convenient or may not be convenient for some others, but we have thought that this could be the logical way of arrangement. With regard to all other aspects of arrangement, Mr. Kumar, our coordinator, and Rajiv Ranjan, and all others in the institute have done a wonderful job in preparing this one. And I wish all the best for the participants, those who are present here and those who are away. A word about our Xavier Institute of Social Research. This is about 20 years old. I happen to be the founder and still continue to be director a second time. We are engaged in research on social issues of people. So, what is our aim? In one way, if you put it, that our aim is to liaison between academic researchers and the people in the field. So we research on those aspects on whom no one else has studied so far, with a focus on Bihar. This academic research is serving Bihar. We have all India and international research institutes all over. As you know, Xavier colleges, Xavier universities are famous. We have 60 higher academic colleges in India, including 2 universities. We have several universities all over the world, and we thought this institute will serve with a focus on Bihar. So we have been trying to bring out those aspects and issues and communities connected with Bihar, and we have brought out 49 academic publications so far in various categories: Bihar Subaltern Study Series, Development Study Series, conference-based or seminar-based publications, lecture series, and so on, human rights series, and so on. In various categories, we have 49 publications. We have 17,000 books on social sciences only in our institute. This at present in Digha Ashiana Road, along in the campus of St. Xavier's College of Management and Technology. You are welcome to drop in there and make use of our rich library and resources for your study on Bihar. We have got rare collections on Bihar. So we thought, and we organize and participate in various seminars and conferences like this. This one is a very relevant for us because we are also focusing on social welfare, action-oriented research. So this theme struck me very much, and when Kumarji suggested this for the center of the CSR center here, I gladly welcomed it, and I agreed to collaborate with it, and so here I am. I wish, I don't want to come between the other speakers and particularly the paper presenters and so on. So I stop here, wishing you all the very best for this conference.
Thank you, sir. Now I invite Mr. Anand Madhav, Advisor, Center for CSR Studies, CIMP, for his address. Mr. Anand Madhav is a postgraduate in political science and has also done masters in business administration. He is a certified CSR professional and has done ICP in CSR from IICA, New Delhi. Mr. Anand Madhav is a recipient of CSR Leader Award by Jagran Group in 2017 and recipient of 100 Most Impactful CSR Leaders presented by World CSR Congress 2016. Sir is a development professional, media marketing expert, and communication specialist. Mr. Madhav has an excellent public relationship with media and civil society organizations of India. He has experience of working with various media houses like Sunday Mail, The Pioneer, The Times of India, Jagran Prakashan Limited. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Good morning to one and all. Respected Director Dr. V. Mukunda Das, Director CIMP, our Chief Guest of the inaugural session, and the father of CSR in India, Dr. Bhaskar Chatterjee, Dr. Father Jose Kalapura, Director ICCSR, Patna, Dr. Vijaya Bandhopadhyay, Associate Professor, Mr. Kumar Kumar, Coordinator, CSR Study Center, other dignitaries, speakers, participants, teachers and non-teaching staff, students of CIMP. Again, a very good morning to one and all. It's very fortunate that today we are going to listen the words of wisdom from Dr. Bhaskar Chatterjee, who gave the birth to CSR in India in the real sense. Area of corporate social responsibility is a new horizon for young management and development professionals. After the enactment of CSR law under Government of India, Company Act 2013, it has got momentum and new definition. Approximately 16,000 companies came under its net, worth rupees 22,000 crore, and increasing every day. Unfortunately, there was a dearth of young CSR professionals in India, and in most of the companies, HR people took over the charge of the CSR division. Realizing this, the Ministry of Corporate Affairs started a certified course under the aegis of Indian Institute of Corporate Affairs under the leadership of Dr. Bhaskar Chatterjee. In 2014, the first course was introduced, and I am fortunate to be a part of this first batch. Now, Chandragupta Institute of Management, Patna has started Center for CSR Study. This will be probably is the first institution in North India after IICA and will open a new vista for the youngsters as well as development professionals. Study Center for CSR in CIMP is aiming to produce CSR professionals and experts to cater the PSUs, corporate, development sector in Bihar and neighboring states. This course will be conducted by the senior faculty members, CSR professionals and people from development sector. CIMP is also in dialogue with IICA, Indian Institute of Corporate Affairs, New Delhi for collaboration of course designing, content support, faculty management and other related issues. We all know the CIMP is an autonomous institute of excellence in management education, consultancy and research set up by the government of Bihar. The performance and placement of this institution is almost 100%. This institute believes and maintains quality education, and all credit goes to our leader, Dr. V. Mukunda Das, Director, who has left no stone unturned in making this institute par excellence. CIMP is among the top 100 base schools of National Institute of Ranking Framework, India 2021. CIMP is organizing this international conference on corporate social responsibility, inclusive development and welfare 2021 in association with Xavier Institute of Social Research. It is being organized in both virtual as well as offline. We can see Dr. Bhaskar Chatterjee is there and is listening us. The basic objective of this conference to discuss and understand the future and scope of CSR in India. Participants are from across segments, academicians, researchers, senior professionals, practicing managers, policy makers, representatives from civil societies and CSR experts as well. People from various industries, government sector also participating in this seminar. We are fortunate to have Dr. Bhaskar Chatterjee, ex-Director General and CEO of IICA, Ministry of Corporate Affairs, Government of India, in this inaugural session. As I mentioned, he is popularly known as the father of CSR in our country. He is a man who has been instrumental in issuing the CSR guidelines for public sector enterprises in April 2010. Thereafter, he played a major role in inclusion of Section 135 in the Companies Act 2013 and framing of the rules thereafter. He is an IAS officer of 1975 batch. He is a prolific writer who wrote many books on management, sustainable development and CSR. We warmly welcome you, sir, on behalf of ICCSR, CIMP and Center for the CSR Studies in CIMP. We are going to hear from him, and which will be really fruitful for we all. We have Dr. Father Jose Kalapura, Director of XISR, Patna Academy Coordinator, ICCSR 2021, who has also enlightened us by his words of wisdom. Conference Chairperson Dr. Vijay Bandyopadhyay, Associate Professor CIMP, will propose the vote of thanks. Many distinguished guests will be joining us in this forum who will enlighten us with their insights on CSR. Apart from the inaugural session, there will be a validity session and a couple of technical sessions as well. In the first technical session, it will be chaired by the Professor Manish Pandya, Fulbright Professor, Editor, PhD Scholar, Harvard University. He will be connecting with us online. This session will take place in MDC block 2nd floor, CIMP, from 11:30 a.m. onwards. As Father Jose Kalapura has mentioned, that keynote address will be delivered in the second technical session by Mr. Martin Neuwirth, founder and CEO of CSR Company International, Vienna, Austria. This session will be chaired by Mr. Mukesh Kumar, Chief Program Executive, CSR IICA, and venue will this auditorium itself. Next technical session will be chaired by Dr. Rana Singh, Vice Chancellor, Sanskriti University, Mathura, on tomorrow, that is in the MDC block, 2nd floor, CIMP at 10 a.m. A panel discussion will be also taking place tomorrow, which will be chaired by me and in the CIMP auditorium itself. The validity session will be addressed by the Ravi Bhatnagar, Mr. Ravi Bhatnagar, who is the Director of External Affairs and CSR in Reckitt and Benckiser. He will be joining us online, who has successfully spearheaded the famous CSR initiative of Reckitt Benckiser, Dettol Swachh Banega Bharat. We all know about it, which is a successful story for we all. This conference has become a reality by the relentless effort put in by Mr. Kumod Kumar, convener of this seminar and coordinator, Center for CSR Studies, supported by Mr. Rajiv Kumar, Chief Administrative Officer, CIMP, and other committed members of the group, and under the able supervision of, no doubt, Dr. V. Mukunda Das, our director. Currently, CSR in India in transition phase. In the financial year 2021, only 1619 out of 16,000 which has increased, it has crossed approximately 25,000 companies. Only 1,619 companies had spent a sum of rupees 8,828.11 crore on CSR, which was 64% less than the previous year. But of course, this was the COVID effect. And gradually things are improving, and this year till December the total spend is approximately 12,500 crore. So things are increasing. I feel that the CSR is a new strategy for the marketing as well, but it needs to be realized by the corporate and the companies as well. It is not a charity, but a way of serving the people with promoting their brand name. It is not creating a parallel infrastructure against the government infrastructure, but fulfilling the gaps in government welfare schemes. Corporate needs to comprehend the vision behind the CSR law. I am sure that this seminar will answer many questions related to the condition and conditioning of CSR in India. India has still to march a long way in order to cherish the dreams of CSR, which is not really taking place as of now. But of course, as the time will pass and government will start the proper M&E system, the things will improve. So it's a very good opportunity even for the students and the participants to learn and to move and to make your career in this area. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you, sir. I would now like to invite Dr. Bhaskar Chatterjee, former DG and CEO, IICA Manesar, Haryana, to deliver his inaugural speech. Dr. Bhaskar Chatterjee is widely acclaimed as the father of corporate social responsibility in India. He was instrumental in framing and issuing the CSR guidelines for public sector enterprises in April 2010. As mentioned by Anand Madhav sir, he played a major role in the inclusion of Section 135 in the Companies Act of 2013 in the framing of the rules thereafter. As the Director General and CEO of the Indian Institute of Corporate Affairs, he spearheaded the National Foundation for Corporate Social Responsibility. Over to you, sir.
That's fine. I think the technology glitch is behind us. So, Dr. B. Mukund Das, Director CIMP, Dr. Father Jose Kalapura, Director XISR, Mr. Anand Madhav, Advisor, Center for CSR Studies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, both online and offline. Let me at the outset say what a privilege it is to be with you, all of you here today on this very fine occasion. Let me congratulate CIMP and XISR for organizing this international conference on corporate social responsibility, inclusive development and welfare. Let me say at the outset how happy I feel to see Anand Madhav standing there. I still remember that when we launched the first certification course way back in 2014, when India as a country was very short of what we would style as CSR professionals, our attempt was to create a certification process by which we could actually have CSR professionals in the country. And Madhav, one of our brightest stars, it's wonderful to see you there. I wish you all the best, and it feels so good to see you carrying the torch of CSR so brightly and illuminating the stage there with your presence. When I look back on the way that the CSR has evolved over time, you might recall that way back in 1994, John Elkington came up with the concept of the triple bottom line. And then he reversed the 3 Ps. He went to planet at the very top and profit at the bottom. So that inverted pyramid became the symbol of CSR for quite some time. We were trying to come out of the era of Milton Friedman, the very famous Nobel laureate, who in 1970 uttered these very famous words: "The social responsibility of business is to increase its profits." That was the thinking in 1970. Today in 2021, 51 years later, a half a century later, how much all of that has completely changed. No business leader anywhere in the world can afford to stand up and utter those words again, because the expectations from business have so completely changed. As far as India is concerned, it is important for us to understand that we have a unique legislation, something no other country in the world has. And it started to be drafted in the time 2011-2012, when the Companies Act of 2013 was being drafted. I still remember the time when we were asked to create one section. As you well know, the Companies Act of 2013 has 470 sections. And we were given one section to encompass the entire CSR spectrum. And that section meant just about 125 or 130 words. To compress all of CSR thinking into just that one section was such a Herculean task. But Section 135 remains a tribute to the way we went about it and the way that it changed the entire scenario of CSR in this country. Many at that time actually opposed the CSR law tooth and nail. And in a way now, looking back, I see the perspective was also not unwarranted. The theme was that, corporates have been doing CSR from time immemorial. CSR was not new to India. Many had been doing it for such a long time. What was the necessity of government to bring in a legislation? If at all government needed money, then why not just impose a 2% tax? And so on and so forth. The arguments ran on and on. But 7 or 8 years down the line since that legislation, it is so heartwarming to see corporates now changing their tune completely and saying what a wonderful piece of legislation that was, because it allowed for the first time strategic CSR to enter into the national thinking. The purpose of that law was not to impose any tariff on corporate India, but to allow India Inc. to join in the crusade for national development, to allow corporates to actually enter into the fold of national development and to do it in a very constructive way. At the centerpiece of that legislation was what is known as the Golden Triangle. At the apex of that triangle stands government as the facilitator and the regulator. Then we have the corporates, who are principally the funders, but also the overseers, who want to establish that what they do, giving back to society, is done robustly, done well, with impact on the ground. And then there are the implementing agencies, all of civil society, the NGOs, because corporates are not expected to get down into communities. What they are expected to do is to engage and to see that implementing agencies, civil society organizations, trusts, Section 8 companies with 3 years of experience on the ground at least, they are the ones who are close to the community. They are the ones who live with communities, live in communities, who understand the pulse beat of the marginalized in this country. It is for them to implement. And that is the essence of the legislation, this synergy between government, between corporates, and between civil society. In that synergy lies at the very heart of the CSR law in India. Let me also draw your attention to one very interesting facet which many researchers today would like to perhaps think about. When we were drafting that legislation, you will see whether in the Section 135 itself or even in Schedule 7, there is no, or even in the rules, there is no definition of CSR. If you were to ask me when I was drafting that legislation, why is it that if you wanted CSR to be universalized in India, then where is your definition? How can you ask people to do CSR when you don't define what you want? And the answer to that lies in the fact that CSR means many, many things to many, many people. There is no one universal definition of CSR. And so my maxim was, to define it is to limit it. When you put a definition there, you give it words which can be interpreted in a million different ways. And also by defining it, you limit the contours of what it should be. And therefore we said, we have Schedule 7. This is the list of activities. If you perform any of them, it will be counted as CSR. And therefore, today, even till today, in the legislation, in the rules, government has never tried to define it. That's one very important aspect that researchers might consider when they write about CSR. So, why did we have this and what lies at the heart of CSR? And I'm very happy that you've included these two words there, inclusive development. That really is the essence of CSR. It is the essence because the attempt of CSR across the board is to address the needs, the requirements of the marginalized, the deprived, the disadvantaged, the disempowered, the unvoiced, the large swathes of this country, the communities who don't have a voice, to give them that voice, to address their concerns where they are on the ground. That is the whole purpose of corporate social responsibility. And the idea here was that corporate India should come out of their boardrooms, should come out and see India is, not be blinkered by their vision sitting behind fancy offices, but to come out and see what India really needs, to tune what they are doing with the needs of the country, the real needs of this country. And in that interaction, I'm happy to say that when the legislation began, there was what we might call a very strong trust deficit between the civil society sector and the corporate sector. Each suspected the other, each suspected the credentials of the other, each suspected the intent of the other. But today, over these 7 or 8 years, the interaction, initially hesitant, initially apprehensive, has now crossed the Rubicon, I would say, and there is a fine-tuning of their understanding. I call this the corporatization of the civil society sector and the NGOization of the corporate sector, one of my famous slogans. Because in the interaction between them, each has learned from the other. Corporate sector in the interaction with the NGOs and civil society organizations has understood what is it that India is at the grassroots. And on their part, NGOs have understood the language of corporates. What is it that they want? What is it that they need? When we submit reports, returns, utilization certificates to corporates, what kind of financial discipline and bang for the buck do they expect? And how is it that we as receivers of funding from corporate India, how can we satisfy their requirements so that we develop a synergy to address to the task of inclusive development? Finally, this very nice word welfare that has been introduced here, I like it very much. Welfare of whom? Because there's this strong word called social welfare. It's the welfare of not everyone. The whole of CSR is addressed to those who really need our assistance, who need their hands to be held, who need to be brought into the mainstream of development. Our hearts, our minds, our attempts, everything that we do must keep their welfare at the centerpiece of the entire edifice of CSR. So inclusive development and welfare go hand in hand. They are intertwined. And for those who finance CSR and those who implement CSR, these two words must lie at the very epicenter of everything that they do. I will now turn to the subject of research. And for me, that really is such a vital element. I used to be the member secretary of the Indian Council of Social Science Research. So I've had a very, very strong relationship with the entire research fraternity of this country. And let me say that any branch of knowledge, any branch of human activity dies a natural or unnatural death if there is no useful research to back it up. I feel so happy that CIMP and ICCSR are so focused on this subject. I also see that since 2013, a tremendous amount of research in various parts of the country are going on. And it is with these paper presentations that we understand what is it that researchers are telling us as thinkers, as in some ways leaders of CSR in this country, I like to keep my antenna very high to try and receive the messages that researchers are sending us. No branch of knowledge, no activity stands frozen in time. Because we made the legislation of 2013, CSR in India does not stand frozen with effect from 1st of April 2014. It is an evolving, it is a dynamic space. With every day, we learn more and more. As things unfold on the ground, messages come to us loud and clear. And you will see that in the Ministry of Corporate Affairs, we have tried to keep our ears close to the ground. And that is why you see the amendments to the rules that have come in January of 2021, which have tried to make the law and the rules more attuned to what's been happening over these 7 years. There were questions with the rules. There were unanswered items that we had not been able to address way back in 2013-14. And the experience of those 5 or 6 years allowed us to try and intervene now. This is the first big rule change that has happened in January 2021. And in a sense, it has covered some of the unanswered questions of that time. But the message that the Corporate Affairs Ministry and government are sending out is that it is not about outputs, it is really about outcome. It is about ensuring that we also measure those outcomes. How do we actually talk about impactful CSR? Are we really delivering on the ground? And there, if we say that we are delivering, a mere narrative or patting ourselves on the back or self-certification will not do. What we need is third-party evaluation. Someone else to say that, yes, Mr. Corporate, you may have done a particular project, but has it really created any impact? It's not if you say so that it has done. There has to be a third-party intervention. There has to be an objective evaluation of what is being done. Today, I happen to sit as CEO of the Vedanta Foundation, now rechristened the Anil Agarwal Foundation. And at all times, what we're trying to do are two things. One is, how strong is our community connect? What we do for communities, should we pre-think that that's what they want us to do? Or should we actually do baseline surveys to understand real needs? What is it that the community wants? Not to try and, impose our agenda on them. That's why the strong community connect means so much across the board. And then, secondly, after that, when we actually do projects and programs on the field, what is the impact that we are creating? We're trying to get some of the best organizations, evaluation experts, to try and come back to us and tell us, what is it that we are doing right? What is it that we are not doing so right? What lessons can we learn every day from the field? So at the bottom line is that when we deliver, are we delivering what we should be delivering? So keeping your ears close to the ground, getting the feedback continuously, fine-tuning what you do with the feedback that you get, that is really the essence of the way CSR needs to be practiced. Let me say in conclusion that it has been a wonderful experience these 7 or 8 years, the journey that India has had. Many lessons have been learned. And to you researchers, to you who have prepared papers which are now going to be presented, let me express my deep, heartfelt gratitude to every one of you. It is your voice we want to hear. It is the messages that you send that we want to hear. Because these, as I think Anand said, we have tried to divide this into 2 parts. One is the theoretical framework, which also needs a tremendous amount of attention. And the other is what you might call research on the ground in terms of action research, and what it is telling us. It is the combination of these two that contributes to the whole repository of knowledge that we have about CSR. It is that which will give us pointers of how we should go forward. Thank you very much for giving me this wonderful, wonderful opportunity, for honoring me by welcoming me as a chief guest to your function. I wish your deliberations all the very best. I look forward to the conclusions of your deliberation, and I thank once again from the bottom of my heart. Goodbye and good luck. Thank you.
Now may I call upon the dais Conference Chairperson Dr. Vijay Bandyopadhyay, Associate Professor, to deliver the vote of thanks.
To one and all present today, it is indeed an honor for me to thank Dr. Bhaskar Chatterjee, ex-DG and CEO, DCL HCL Maneshwar, Haryana, for sparing his valuable time and delivering the inaugural address of this conference. Thank you, sir. I also thank Mr. Anand Madhav, ex-CEO, Jagran Pehal, CSR Division of JPL Group, ex-Principal Consultant, Gender Resource Center, Government of Bihar, and Advisor, Center for CSR Studies in CIMP, for addressing the participants. Thank you, sir. I extend my gratitude to our Director, Professor V. Mukunda Das, Patron, ICCSR 2021, for his continuous support and guidance to ensure the success of the conference. Thank you, sir. I also take this opportunity to thank Dr. Jose Talapura, Director, Xavier Institute of Social Research, Patna, and Academic Coordinator of ICCSR 2021, for his continuous involvement and support for this conference. Thank you, sir. I also take this opportunity to thank our keynote speaker, Mr. Mac Martin Narrator, founder and CEO of the CSR Company International, Vienna, Austria, who will be joining us today in the post-lunch session. I also thank the session chairpersons, Mr. Manish Pandya, Fulbright Fellow, PhD Doctoral Research, Howard University, Washington, D.C., USA, Mr. Mukesh Kumar, Head, Center for E2E in CSR, IICA, Ministry of Corporate Affairs, Government of India, and Dr. Rana Singh, Vice Chancellor, Sanskriti University, Mathura. I also thank the panelists, Mr. Hussain Kumar, Founder, India CSR, and Mr. Ravi Bhatnagar, Country Head, Rakuten Bankaisa, who will be joining us tomorrow for the panel discussion. I thank all my colleagues from the organizing committee, Professor G.K. Murthy, Professor Shivananda Shanapati, and Professor Santosh Kumar, and conveners Mr. Rajiv Ranjan and Mr. Pramod Kumar, for their continuous efforts in making this conference a success. I thank all the authors, paper presenters, and participants for their contributions in this conference. I thank all faculty, officers, and staff members for their support and participation. I also thank the student volunteers for their active participation in the conference. Last but not the least, I thank the representatives from the print and electronic media who are present today for covering this conference. I wish you all the best and hope this conference will be an enriching experience for all of us. Thank you all.
Thank you, ma'am. May I now request everyone to arise for the national anthem.
tea break and will